very quickly, I don't get special treatment. There's something wrong with my laptop. That's why I've got this whole setup and I'm sitting here. It's quite lush. Oh, I've got to hurry up. Oh, shit. Sorry. Right. So my talk is, I've mainly been a 2D animator for most of my life. I've done 3D stuff, but the 3D stuff that I've done has been video, and I very much like the sort of interactive elements. So I've mainly stuck with 2D. And recently, in the last few years, there have been some 3D applications that have come out where you can create some really cool sort of, this is 2D by the way, cool 3D stuff. Spline, has anyone heard of Spline? Yeah, cool. And so what I tend to do is, oh, sorry, I'm Chris Gannon, interactive motion designer. This was. I tend to use, for 2D stuff, I use Greensock. Anyone use Greensock? Yeah, cool, okay. And Spline for 3D stuff. And you can mix the two because GSAP basically can animate anything. It's great. I tend to use a couple of different sort of UI components to sort of hang my experiments off. And as a freelancer, I'm constantly experimenting with, how to sort of do new stuff and learn stuff. We all have to keep learning all the time. And so one of them is I create toggles. Toggles are interactive, so that you draw the user in, they can trigger an animation, and you have two states. It's a sort of a dual state thing, and so you can practice animating from one thing to another, and it's just a nice little mechanism for doing a test. And everything that you see here is on the web and is a test, basically. I'm experimenting, or I'm learning how to do something. And so toggles is one of the first things that I sort of tend to just try, and I'm not going to talk about every single thing, this is in Spline, single thing that I've made. I'm just going to show you some stuff because it's after lunch and everyone's like, a little bit slow, and this is just a little bit of icon. Is that looking all right? It's all right. When I've been, I tend to sort of, especially in my earlier part of my career, I work that when you're trying to practice something, taking away that sort of that overhead of thinking of a creative idea, I tended to copy other people with credit, of course. And so it took away that whole kind of, oh, what shall I do? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy that, but I'm going to do it in the technology or the environment that I'm trying to practice to make sure that I can do it. Sushi toggle. I mean, a lot of these are just completely useless. Why? I don't even know why you would even use that. But it doesn't. I mean, this is even worse. This is even worse. This doesn't mean anything. It's like 15, love. I don't know. But I think on this occasion, I was trying to add in some sort of dynamic. The ball actually dynamically rotates every single time you click it, and I was trying to sort of get that into what is essentially a static. Toggles are quite static. This is completely stupid. It's called Boggle Toggle. Again, it was just an idea I had. No one's ever going to use this. And I should point out, I have never been hired to create a toggle by any client, ever. But it sort of brings up an interesting point, and that is, are there any freelancers in? Freelancers? Are you all full? So we have to, as freelancers, we have to sort of constantly put work out all the time. And this is the 3D version of that. I'm going to talk about why I made the 3D version. Again, this is so stupid. And we have to constantly sort of update our skills and make sure that we're up to date and we can sort of take on new requirements. Learning to do interactive 3D stuff was in some ways a lot easier because I didn't have to copy other people's stuff. I could copy my own stuff. And so I was creating these like 3D versions of my own 2D stuff. This is Stretchy Toggle. It's got some Disney principles in it. It's got secondary, motion and that sort of stuff. And then recreating that again in Spline, I had to do a little sort of rotation just to show it was in 3D. Again, it's completely pointless. Although some of this stuff can very easily be ported over to AR, VR headsets, which are starting to become less useless. This is not a toggle. This was a sort of it's not a toggle really. It's like the whole page is like they've got a whole sort of lighthouse and stuff behind it. I don't know why. Where am I at? Oh my God. Loaders. Again, I have been hired to do loaders before. This is like, it's called manual loader. It's for, it basically, I couldn't be bothered to spin it. So you as a user had to spin it yourself. So get you involved. And some more stuff in Spline, sort of just testing out some various features. Spline is quite young, so they're introducing new features all the time, and it's really nice to sort of try these things out and just put them out there and try and be as kind of present and as active as possible as a freelancer, because you never know, someone's going to spot your work and hire you, probably not for toggles, but for, you know, they think, oh, this person's, you know, injecting some emotion and some energy into what they're doing. So this is like a sort of a downloader. This is the 2D version. Honestly, I did the 3D version and I kind of thought, well, actually, even though I'm practicing doing the 3D version, it really didn't add anything to it at all. It just, I don't know why, it was a bit pointless. It was just an exercise in, you know, doing something that was relatively popular at the time. More sort of 3D loaders and stuff. Taking some 2D video. I use Cavalry a lot. Anyone heard of Cavalry? No, we heard of Cavalry. All right. It's kind of the next version or the next sort of thing to After Effects. After Effects does a lot of compositing. Cavalry is very much a motion graphics tool, and it's amazing. It's you can create some amazing stuff with it. But again, it's not interactive, so it has limited appeal for me. This is more Spline stuff, more nice 3D animations. And again, all of this is all interactive. You know, you can sort of spin these things around and play with them and that sort of thing. What do we got now? Oh yeah, some other sort of stuff that you can sort of play around with, sort of draws. And I don't really want to try and alienate my audience too much. Like there was a new called Shape Blend, and this was literally the only thing that I could think of to try and push it. It was basically just shapes, but I kind of created all these cylinders, and I was like, not a minute, I can write something excessively rude. And you know, you can apply nice video textures to your 3D. Again, this is all running in the browser, so you can do some really, really nice stuff. And it makes you more, I don't know, not popular, what's the word? Attractive to clients, you know, because you want to be seen as flexible as possible. And also, you know, you want to be able to take on as much as you can, really, because, you know, this economy is absolutely diabolical at the moment. So in the past, I've turned down 3D stuff years ago because I couldn't do it. This was from years ago, Rainbow Rocket Man. And so I remade him with a little legend, because obviously in 3D you can make everything animatable. And so I made it so that the head sort of you could do all these different things with the head, and just to take it a bit further. This is actually a working radio button, and so I'd remake that again when new parts of Spline came out. I just remake that splat bit again, and this was another thing in 2D using most of the stuff that SVGs. Anyone still using SVGs? Yeah, SVGs is rocking. It's very small and it's very powerful, really. Oh, is it? Okay. Why don't I just put that there? You sit next to me like a weird guest. And then the kind of a 3D version of that, which again, I'm not entirely convinced. We didn't have this beautiful shape blend GUI thing at the time, so. And you can do nice sort of UI things with Spline, and then just random spinning things, and just trying to make things that maybe you haven't seen before that are just interesting, you know, and just trying to push things in different ways, trying to make the web a bit more fun. None of this is accessible. I'm really sorry. I know I'm at the wrong conference for accessibility. I am sort of almost diametrically on the opposite side of the world from accessibility. But what I'm trying to do is, I suppose I'm trying to see where the technology can be pushed. And then if something is interesting and worth using, you can kind of rein it in and make sure that it is as accessible as possible. Sliders, oh my God, I'm gonna run out of time here. Some nice whizzy spline sliders, some other sliders. Sliders are great because they provide a journey. So, I said I hang things off UI components. With sliders, it's not just a state, one thing or another. It's a nice journey. It's a progress journey. So you can make something evolve over time. Sorry, I had to put this in. I just made this thing. Everyone's banging on about the new glass stuff in Apple OS, so I thought I'd recreate that. And you can do all sorts of. Again, this is like a 2D thing. You may or may not notice that most of the stuff that I'm doing has a lot of it has inertia, it has some nice sort of, it has human motion to it. It's not static, it should feel nice to use. And I'm going to do a demo in a second. Let me just whiz through some of these because this is science. What's this one? Some of these take a bit too long to start. Oh, it's like Love Slider, and an egg on a conveyor belt, and you can drag the thing up and down and make them go faster if you want. And then you can turn off the AI. This is again, there's another dynamic slider. You can actually interact with this, and you can put it wherever you want. And it's a bit of a sinister. Don't do that there. Don't touch that. Right, so we're going to get into the demo. Right, so this was this has been copied by loads of people. They don't credit me, it's really annoying. But anyway, and it's called Balloon Slider. And I'm going to do a very basic version of this. I also did it in 3D. And I'm going to try, if I've got time, to do this in Spline for you as well. So let me just stick my glasses on, pop out of this, and we're going to go into. If you go to you can follow along with this. If you go to codepen.io/Chris Gannon, you can actually go and get this and fork this off my main page. Anyway, right. So we're in CodePen. Can you see all that? Is that all? Oh, fine. Yeah. Okay. It's just not cutting out, is it? Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this by copying. So you can notice that there's a lot of layers here. There's balloon, there's dragger, there's a track, and then there's the rectangle, which basically keeps everything together. Okay, and I'm just going to copy it, and I can go into the HTML, and I can just paste that in, get rid of some gubbins, and get rid of the rectangle. And now we've got everything that we need that's within that sort of stage. And we can start immediately. Oh, by the way, this has got Greensock and Draggable, which is a free utility. In fact, all of Greensock is free now, which is great, because Webflow bought it, I think. Okay, so we're immediately going to, let's just crack on with draggable.create. Oops, create. And we're going to do that. We're going to point that to the dragger, which is this thing. What have I done? Oh, come on. Right, I was told to down one of these every time I made a typo. I can't do that. Right, okay, so that's made this draggable, but obviously that's no use. We need to constrain it, so we need to give it a type of X, and that just says only go on the X axis, and we're going to give it some bounds. Now, when you paste stuff into SVG, its minimum X, its X position where it is 0, its transform is 0, and the maximum X is, I think it's 400, is it? Is that the length of this? Yeah, there we go. I'm going to save that because that's clever, isn't it? Right. Okay, so now we have this that drags up and down. We want this balloon to sort of follow it, okay? So we can do that. And in There are lots of old ways of doing this. There's a better way of doing it in Greensock using what's called modifiers. Who uses Greensock? Has anyone heard of modifiers? Yeah, you have. Okay, not many people have. It's kind of a bit of a hidden function, and what it allows you to do, and it's becoming more and more useful. With normal tweens in Greensock, you have a start position and an end position, and if you want to interrupt that by saying, "Oh no, don't go there, go here," it can be a little bit jarring. Now with modifiers, it's like state-based animation or additive animation, if you like. And it means that as it's going somewhere, you can say, "Oh no, don't go there, go here," and it will just glide to the new place. So it's a much nicer way of doing it. So we can say GSAP.to balloon, and what we're going to do is create a loop, and we also want to animate the X position. So we just need to declare the X, and then we're going to put that on a repeat -1. Okay. And this piece of code is now just looping over and over and over. And we can create a modifiers object. And inside that, we create an X function that will receive an external value. So the external value in this case is going to be where the X position of the dragger, right? And the balloon's going to go, "Oh, the X position of the dragger is there, so follow it." So we can say X is a function. And we can just return, right now we can return the position of the dragger just so I can demonstrate it. And we can get the position of the dragger by saying gsap.get property of the dragger, and it's the X position. So right now, the balloon, hopefully, will just follow the dragger. There's no sort of inertia, there's nothing sort of fancy going on yet, but we can add that. Oh, by the way, I've added these because I kept forgetting them when I was rehearsing this, so I've just added these so I don't forget them. Okay, let me just put that down for a minute. Right, now, so we can do some very, very simple calculations now to make this feel so much nicer. And we're going to use the velocity. And the velocity X, which I've declared at the top, is the difference between the X position of the dragger minus the X position of the balloon, okay? And the balloon's going to catch up and it's going to eventually go to 0 once we've done our calculations, okay? So we will say velocity X, and it's plus equals, let me just put the next thing in brackets. I'm just going to copy this because I can't be bothered to keep typing it. So it's the X position of the dragger minus, I'm going to just paste that in again, and it's just change this to the X position of the balloon. Okay. So that's being calculated, and then we can just multiply that by drag, which is a value less than 1 at the top. Okay. Now nothing's going to happen because we're still returning the position of the X dragger. Sorry, the dragger. But we can now return the velocity X to that. And you can see there's a little bit of drag. We can just bring this down a little bit. Get that fresh. And now we're getting this nice sort of following effect. And that's all nice, but we can make it a bit better. Now, when a car comes to a stop, it doesn't really kind of stop and then stop. It tends to sort of wobble on its rubber tires, and that's kind of how almost everything works, unless it's like a hard thing. Things tend to sort of wobble as they stop, and so we can emulate that by saying velocity times equals this overshoot value. Okay. And that'll give it a bit of a wobble. Now, at the moment, so what we've done now is we've actually reduced velocity to a tiny little number. So as I drag, it's really sort of, it's not doing what we want. What we can do now is we can just add the actual X position of the balloon to it. And now we've got this. It doesn't look very different, but what it means is if I up these values of the value of overshoot, you'll see the difference that it's making, and it means that you have a lot more flexibility. in how this is going to work, and also it gives you a lot more options and flexibility for use later. Okay, let me maybe just stick that and back down a little bit. When you pull a balloon, this is how animators work. How do balloons work? When you pull a balloon, it's usually attached by a string to the knot. And that means that its pivot point, or transform origin, is down by the knot. And in SVG, the top left is 0, 0, and then you sort of work out where the pivot point would be by percentage. So you say 50% on the X and then 100% on the Y. And so we can set that. You'll see why I'm doing this in a sec. GSAP.set balloon. Oh, too many O's. And we can say the transform origin, or some people call it the pivot point, is 50% on the X and 100% on the Y. Well, actually, probably be about 98% because it's down by the knot, but that doesn't really matter. So nothing's changed just yet. Now what we can do is, because the rotation is going to drag, as you drag it, it's going to go, we are going to animate the rotation. So we define the rotation as another property that we're going to animate. And then we can do the similar sort of thing. This is a much simpler calculation. So we're now adding in, as a sort of another argument to the modifiers, a rotation function, and that returns velocity x multiplied by quite a small number, like, I don't know, like 3 or something like that, because we only want a small amount of rotation. You'll see what I mean. So, but actually, it sort of looks like it's sort of doing a sort of a weird dance, which means that I've got this value the wrong way around. So if I just make that -3, and now we've got a balloon that drags and follows, and you can do all sorts of cool things with this, like the sort of the level of liquid in a glass, or there's a whole load of things you could do. So there you go. That's how you do that, and then you can change all these values. So if I change the drag down to a much lower number, it sort of takes a lot longer, and you can change the rotation value to a much higher number. Hello. Have I lost connection here? Oh, no, there we go. And so, right, okay, so that's how I would do this in 2D. So let's go and build this in 3D. Where are we at? Okay, that's all right. Okay, I should have probably pre-built some of this. Right, so this is Spline. This is Spline, right? But the thing is, I kind of thought, if you want to join in, there's no point in having a load of pre-built stuff, because it's kind of cheating a bit. Okay, so I'm going to build all this stuff in Spline really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to do a track. So that's the sort of, and I'm going to make this, I don't know, like 10 and 10. And so I'm going to end up with this track, right? Good thing to do in Spline is constantly reset and transform. So everything's zeroed out all the time, right? And I'm going to just add a material to that. I've actually got some pre-made materials. I'm going to make that white, okay? All right. And now I'm going to make the dragger. And I'll just draw that. I don't know, maybe that size. And just add the material to that. The nice thing about pre-made materials is that if you want to change them later, you can change just that material and it'll update in all of the materials, elements that use it. Okay, reset the transform on that. There's a good reason why I keep resetting the transforms. So this is called dragger. I'm going to try and name them the same as the 2D version. So I've got a dragger, and I'm going to group this. This is pretty important to keep grouping stuff in Spline so that you can do different sort of transforms and things, and you can nest them. You can do sort of, I don't know, a transform left and right on one of them, and then a Y rotation on a group above. And so you get these nice sort of mixing transforms that don't interfere with each other because you're doing it to separate groups. Okay, so and you'll notice this when I drag this group around, the dragger inside is still at 0, 0, which is kind of what I want. So I'm just going to just reset that. In fact, reset transform. Actually, I need to make sure that this is okay. So this track, we'll make this 500. Let me just reset that again. Okay. So the dragger. So we're going to make this draggable. And actually, what I'm going to do first, sorry, is I'm going to move this to the beginning. So because this is 500, we're going to move this minus 250, okay? So that's the group. Inside, the dragger is still at 0, 0. And so I'm going to create an event for this. And the event is a drag and drop. The plane is just the X. This is like type in Greensock. It's relative to the parent because I'm in a group. And I'm going to put some drag limits on it. So the minimum X is 0 because it's at 0 at the time. We don't want it to go any further left. And we will put a maximum X of actually 500, it's fine. So let me run that. And so we've got our dragger, this is in 3D, remember? So we've got our dragger and it's sort of constrained, if you like, to the track. Great. Now we want a balloon. We can actually go into the library and we can grab a balloon from the library. This is my library, this is the library that comes with Spline. So I'm going to ungroup that for a second, just delete that group, get rid of the chord, and then group these two bits. They're like the knot and the balloon. I'm going to group those, call that balloon, and I'm going to just put the white material on it. Okay. And again, I'm just going to zero this out, reset transform, and I'm going to group this again. Honestly, believe me, if you don't group stuff, you end up in all sorts of trouble. So balloon group, okay. So now I can sort of position this where I want. Again, I'm going to put this at minus 250. So it's above, the group is above where I want it to be dragged from. But this, remember, because it's in a group, is now at 0, 0, which is superb. And again, this is kind of a no-code environment. I am going to use some code, sorry. But it's just a little bit of code, nothing major. And it does allow it. So on this, I can say this can follow which target is to follow the dragger. I only want it to follow on the X and Y. And we can put, well, actually, let's just run that. So now, again, the balloon is following it, which is great. And we have some options here with the balloon to change the damping. So you'll immediately see. So again, that's a bit like the drag inertia, okay? So we're getting somewhere. Again, we want to make it so that the balloon is sort of is going and dragging, and so we can do that. We can change the pivot point by holding down Alt and clicking on the balloon, and just dragging this down to the knot. So now you notice that this balloon is got the pivot point down here. Okay, we're going to need to do a little bit of code because you need a little bit of code for this. So we can create a variable, and the first variable that we'll create is called difference x. And that's, again, it's going to be the difference between the dragger and the balloon. But we also need, so in the 2D version, there was this loop running. We need to create our own loop, and you can do that inside Spline using a counter. And we can just change the properties on this. At the moment, the interval is 1 second. It's just, which is not very smooth. We want it to be once every 60 frames, which is 1 divided by 60, okay? And just turn that end value off. So now this variable is constantly changing 60 frames a second, right? And we're going to need that. It doesn't matter what the value is, but we just need to observe it and do stuff as it changes, okay? And I'll show you what that means. I'm just going to create a layer over here just by creating a shape. It doesn't really matter what it is because I'm going to hide it. This is just what I do. It's just a code, so I'm going to create a code layer. and I can create an event on here, and this event will be on variable change. And every time the counter changes, do something, okay? And this counter is changing 60 frames a second. So we can set the difference x. So we can set a variable, which we've already defined. We can set difference x to be the difference between the dragger x and the balloon x. Are you awake? Yeah. I just suddenly thought it's just me here, isn't it? So we can do that by saying it's an object property of the dragger and its position x, and it fills it in for you. This is the no code bit. Minus object property, and it's the balloon's position x. Okay. Okay, so nothing's actually changed here. We haven't done anything yet. Okay, so that's the difference x. We want the balloon, as I said, to sort of lurch that way. So we need this difference x value. And we can just test that, by the way, by getting a text field. And we can assign difference x to the text field. It's almost like console.log. Well, it sort of is. And you can see that it becomes a big number and it all goes down to almost 0 as the balloon catches up. And this is kind of what we want. I'm going to hide that. Changing text in 3D environment, constantly changing, is very, very poor for performance. So I'm just going to hide that for a sec. And so now we can create another variable for the rotation. It's the rotation. Remember, it's going to be sort of doing this. So we can create another variable, and this will be called the balloon rotation z. Okay. Go back into our code layer, go on variable change, and now we can set a variable of balloon rotation z to be the difference x, and again it's multiplied by, we'll do it by a smallish number, 0.3. Let's okay. In order for this to work, we need to go into the balloon that we want, the group that we want to this to affect, and go into the rotation Z, and we can see the little plus icon there, and we can add the balloon rotation Z there. So now, when we drag it, it's following it really nicely, okay? But because this is 3D, we kind of think, well, let's not waste this whole opportunity to have rotation Y and some other stuff that makes it look much cooler, and use some depth of field and whatever. Stuff that we can't do in 2D. Otherwise, this is kind of a bit pointless. We're just recreating something that looks 2D. So we're going to add some clouds, and those clouds are going to rotate on the Y-axis, which you don't have in 2D. So we're going to go again into the library. We can go and grab a cloud. We'll grab this cloud. Hello, did you add? No, you didn't add. Where are you? Library. Right, okay, there's a cloud. And we can just push that into the background. We'll duplicate that, Control D, bring one forward. And then maybe create another one, Control D, and then move that sort of, forward a little bit. So we've just got them, and they're sort of equidistant around. Doesn't really matter. And we'll just move those up a little bit so it looks a bit nicer. Okay. Now, because I want these to rotate all together, I'm just going to select them all and group them. This is called cloud group. And we're going to create another variable. I'm not going to duplicate that. I'm going to do a number. And this is the cloud rotation Y. Now, clouds are going to rotate based on the progress, where I've dragged to, okay? So we need to create a variable that says where is my dragger in the whole progress of its journey? Is it at 0 or is it at 400 or 500? Okay, but we're going to turn that into a 0 to 1. So it's either 0 or a number between 0 and 1. And there's a reason why we want to do this, and I'll show in a sec. So we're going to create a progress, progress, and that is the x position of the dragger divided by its maximum, okay? Let me put the code back up to the top. So we can say, so its maximum drag, that's what I meant to finish off that sentence, sorry about that. So we can say the progress is the object property of the dragger, the position x, divided by, and I think it was 500? That was, yeah. And again, we can just quickly test that. So there's the text, and we can just assign the progress value to it, just to make sure that it is actually working. And we've got this number now between 0 and 1, okay? So not complete, fully complete, okay? And now we can assign any rotation y value, oh, it's going orange, to this. So we need to create one more variable, I think, and it's going to be called, in fact, no, it's not. I'm going to create a number, and it's going to be called, oh no, I've done it. I've done it. Oh, shut up. So I've done the cloud rotation y. So now I'm going to set the cloud rotation y, and it's going to be, what is it? It's set variable. It is multiplying the, so cloud, I start typing, it'll fill it in for me. That's multiplied by progress. No, it isn't. Oh my God, no, what is it? Sorry, it's not. Thank you. Cloud rotation y, 360 minus progress, thank you. Or any value, really. It could be 720. If you want the whole thing to spin around twice, then you can do that. And also then don't forget to assign that new variable to the rotation y of the cloud group. So now, as we drag, the whole thing spins round very nicely, but there is a slight problem in that the clouds aren't facing the camera, so we can very quickly fix that by creating one last variable. I know I said the last one was the last one, but this is the last one. Duplicate, and we're going to call this cloud rotation Z offset. And that is, we're going to here, we need to set it again. So set another variable. And that is cloud rotation Z offset is 360 minus the cloud rotation Y. So it's basically whatever the rotation Y of the group is doing, do the opposite, and it just keeps them facing. And don't forget, we have to go into here and assign this to all of them. So let's just do that. And I think I might be all right. Okay, so let's just test that. So now, and drag this just so you can see it a bit better. Now they are facing the camera all the time, but I would say the whole thing looks very flat because we're using isometric or orthographic. So we can quickly change that by adding a new camera, and with camera selected, change that to perspective, and immediately closer clouds look bigger, further away clouds look smaller. And let's just give that a quick test. So that's kind of nice, isn't it? But we can do one final thing. Let's turn this off because it's a little bit jerky with this on. We can go into the effects and add depth of field, which is really nice. And so you can go into there, you can grab the little target here and say, I want this or this always to be in focus, and then anything else can be out of focus. So the blur is you can turn the blur up a lot. It's not true depth of field; it's sort of simulated, so it's not brilliant, but it does the job. And so now we can drag this and the whole thing. But we can make this just a little bit nicer. I've got 20 seconds to make it nicer, right? In the dragger, right, in the drag and drop, you notice there was this damping. Just turn that up. And then suddenly the whole thing just feels so much smoother. That was the reaction I wanted. So, and let me just, can I just go back into like showing this? I'm minus 4 seconds. Sorry. Let me just go into here, start presenting, and then that was my talk.